The Chiefs look sloppy. They can't get the 1 seed. The Chiefs have to go on the road now. And is anyone scared of the Chiefs right now?
I just look at this Chiefs team, and you're right about his frustrations, is where do they go from here? Offensively, it still seems to be such a struggle. There's so many different things that continue to hold them back.
To have your receivers now dropping 26 passes on the season, it's gotten to a point where it's embarrassing.
It's hard for me to envision this version of the Chiefs suddenly snapping out of it and hoisting a Lombardi.
This offense is not good enough. People don't fear them anymore.
My God, it is bad in Kansas City. There is no way in hell you can win a Super Bowl if your receivers can't catch.
7 terrific quarterbacks and Brock Purdy.
And I truly believe, and I say it on national TV, we got the better quarterback. Jordan Love is a better quarterback than Brock Purdy.
If I told you it's 27-all San Francisco Green Bay, I trust Jordan Love more than Brock Purdy.
They're not winning because of him.
He's not turning the ball over.
He's managing the game.
It's the Super Bowl that America seemingly didn't want, but this game has the potential to be extremely entertaining. In this video, I want to talk about the incredible journeys that the 49ers and the Chiefs took to get to this point. Let's start with the Kansas City Chiefs because they had to get through a lot to get to this point. The start to their season wasn't terrible, even though they did suffer that 1-point loss to the Lions in Week 1, but they were able to string together a few victories over the next few weeks. But questions were rising throughout the middle of the season. The team's record was never terrible, but there were moments where their offense just went stagnant. For the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era, it looked like the defense was better than their offense. This was obviously not entirely the fault of Patrick Mahomes, but he was also having the worst regular season of his career. Players who had stepped it up in the postseason the year before, such as Sky Moore and most notably Kadarius Toney, weren't showing up in 2023. And you could even argue that this was the worst Travis Kelce regular season with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. There were many on the field and off the field issues, which I'm sure we all know about at this point. The distractions were at an all-time high and their offense was not clicking. But their defense and their ability to execute when it mattered somehow carried them into the playoffs. They were favored versus Miami and pulled out a win. But Josh Allen and the Bills were going to put an end to this strange and relatively disappointing season for the Chiefs, or so we thought. The Chiefs simply made more plays at the end of the game, and despite being worse than the Bills throughout really the whole regular season, they showed up in one singular game versus the Bills in the playoffs and made it to the conference championship. And they would do the exact same thing the next week. There wasn't really a single moment this year where we thought that the Chiefs were better than the Ravens. But at the end of the day, all it comes down to is one game, and the Chiefs showed up, and the Ravens didn't. Just a month or two ago, a lot of people weren't seeing the Chiefs as a championship threat, and certainly not the championship favorite. But once again, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs made it back to the big game, to the demise of most fans, and despite all the wild things that have transpired this year. But let's talk about the 49ers, whose path to the Super Bowl was completely different. The 49ers did suffer a similar midseason collapse to the Chiefs though. They started the year 5-0, and it really looked like they were unstoppable. But after just a few injuries, more and more pressure was on Brock Purdy to perform in the following weeks. And to put it simply, he didn't show up. 3 straight bad losses, and the 49ers were in trouble. Most, if not all of the criticism was on the shoulders of Brock Purdy. He was deemed a game manager, the guy holding his team back, and someone who couldn't make plays when it mattered. But for the rest of the year, all he did was make plays. They only suffered one more hiccup for the rest of the year, which was a loss to the Ravens, but this one loss had people doubting them once again. After a first-round bye, they got to go up against the 7th-seeded Green Bay Packers in the divisional round, which seemed like the best possible matchup for the 49ers. But if it wasn't for a very unfortunate series of events for the Packers, the 49ers could have easily been ran out of their own stadium, but they lived to fight another day. This time versus an elite Lions team. The 49ers looked to regroup and try to keep this playoff run going, but it was not off to a good start. The Lions got off to a great start, going up 24-7 at one point. But somehow, the Niners fought back on the shoulders of the man who was criticized all year long, Brock Purdy. And this leads us to where we are now. A Super Bowl rematch from just a few years ago, but both of these teams look very different. The 49ers have a new quarterback, and the Chiefs have a completely new offense. There were many times this year where it looked like neither of these teams would make it here for completely different reasons. It looked like the quarterback was holding back the 49ers and the supporting cast was holding back the Chiefs, but both of these things proved to be false. Brock Purdy stepped up when it mattered most, and the Chiefs' offensive supporting cast stepped up when it mattered most as well. Guys like Rashee Rice and Isaiah Pacheco especially. The Chiefs had arguably their worst year with Patrick Mahomes and still made it here, and the 49ers struggled through their entire playoff run, but still found their way here. This wasn't necessarily the Super Bowl that most of us wanted, but it's still set up to be very entertaining. Both of these teams have overcome all the adversity to get here, and one of them will be champions once again. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I'll be coming out with a video in a few days going over my Super Bowl predictions. If this isn't the Super Bowl that you wanted to see, I hope this video changed your mind because I think it's going to be very exciting. I'll see you all in the next one.